When you hear the word constitution, what comes to mind? Probably a really long, kinda dry legal document, right? But what if I told you it could be a blueprint for a revolution? That's exactly how the historian Granville Austin saw India's constitution. And today we're going to unpack that incredible idea. So let's just start with that big question right there. Can a piece of paper, a legal document, actually kickstart a full-blown social revolution? It sounds a little crazy, but that's the provocative idea we are diving into today. And our guide on this journey is Granville Austin. He was an American historian who looked at India's founding document and saw something most people missed. He didn't just see a set of laws. He saw an incredibly ambitious plan to build a completely new kind of country. And this quote right here, this is the absolute heart of his argument. Austin believed that the main point of the Constitution wasn't just about political freedom from the British. No, it was about a deep, fundamental social change within India itself. So what does he mean by a social revolution? Well, he meant using the law to peacefully but systematically take apart centuries of social hierarchy, things built on caste, religion, and gender, and rebuild India into a modern society where every single citizen is equal. That is a truly radical vision. Okay, so how on earth did the Constitution's framers even plan to achieve something so massive? Well, Austin had this really powerful metaphor to explain their strategy. He called it the seamless web. The seamless web is such a cool concept. Basically, it says that the two main parts of the Constitution, the fundamental rights, which protect you as an individual, and the directive principles, which guide the government, they aren't supposed to be fighting each other. Think of it like this. Your right to equality is a fundamental right. You can go to court and demand it. A directive principle, on the other hand, is the government's goal to, say, secure a living wage for all workers. It's a target for lawmakers. Austin's whole point was that these two things are woven together for one single purpose. And this web, he said, is held together by three main strands. First, just keeping this huge, incredibly diverse new nation in one piece. Second, making sure those individual freedoms are guaranteed. And third, the real engine of change, using those directive principles to actively push the social revolution forward.
But, even the most beautiful plans have to face reality. And the elegant, perfect vision of this seamless web was about to slam right into the messy, complicated world of politics, property, and power.
And this created this huge, fundamental tension. On one side, you've got Parliament, right, elected by the people, trying to push through big social reforms like redistributing land. But on the other side, you have the Supreme Court, whose job is to be the guardian of individual rights, and that includes the right to property. So who gets the final say? This massive clash between what Parliament wanted to do and what the judiciary was sworn to protect, well, it set the stage for decades of epic legal battles. And out of all that conflict, something emerged that you just don't see anywhere else in the world. A truly, uniquely Indian solution. You can see the battle play out over the years. In '67, the court just says, nope, fundamental rights cannot be touched, creating a total deadlock. Then, in 1973, in this legendary case Kevananda Bharati, the court finds this incredible middle path, the basic structure doctrine. And by 1980, with the Minerva Mills case, this idea was cemented as the law of the land. So what in the world is this doctrine? Okay, think of it this way. Parliament can renovate the House of the Constitution. It can paint the walls, move some rooms around, but it cannot touch the foundation. And what's so wild about this is that the foundation, these basic structures, weren't explicitly listed out in the original text. They were defined by the judiciary. Things like democracy, federalism, rule of law, they're now seen as completely off limits for any parliament to change. Now, what's really fascinating is that Granville Austin himself, he didn't like this idea at first. He was actually against it. He thought it was undemocratic. How could a handful of unelected judges tell the elected representatives of the people what they can and cannot do? He was worried it would just stop social progress in its tracks. But over time, his view did a complete 180. He eventually came to see the doctrine not as a roadblock, but as a critical safety valve. It was the one thing that could protect the core values of the Constitution from being destroyed by any government that just happened to have a huge majority at the time. It was about ensuring the long-term survival of Indian democracy itself. So this whole story, from this grand vision of a seamless web, to the intense clashes between institutions, to this ingenious solution of the basic structure, it tells us something really profound about what India's constitution actually is. It shows us that the Indian Constitution isn't some dusty old rulebook sitting on a shelf. It's a living document, precisely because of all these struggles. Its real genius is in its ability to bend and adapt, to evolve through conflict and interpretation. That's what allows it to breathe and stay relevant through decades of unbelievable change. And that, of course, brings us to today. Because the social revolution that the framers dreamed of, well, it's still a work in progress, isn't it? Which leaves us with one last big question to think about. Is this living document, born from such a revolutionary dream, still living up to its promise to create a truly equal society for everyone?